You rolling? You ready?
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, Connor. Welcome to the Keeping Focus podcast. It only really makes sense that you be the first guest for this podcast, given that me and you started our business journey with a podcast. What we talk about on this podcast is the journey to success. So my first question to you is, from your perspective, where does that journey to success start for you?
Personally, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think it's difficult to pinpoint an exact moment where I thought, okay, the journey to success is beginning. I think I've always kind of had an idea of what I wanted to do. That was start a business. Didn't know what. Didn't really know how I was going to do it. But even when I was kind of 12, 13, 14, people would be asking me, what is it that you want to do when you grow up? And I just thought, I want to start a business. Always told them that, and I've had people tell me time and time again that, get a normal job. So I think that's when the idea of what I wanted to do kind of manifested itself. But in terms of actually kind of getting on the path to making that happen, I think a big turning point for me was going to university and kind of stepping outside my comfort zone of being in the small town where I grew up and kind of mingling with different people from different backgrounds, because I thought I was probably quite a shy kid when I was growing up, especially in my teenage years. I think I was comfortable with people that I knew, but kind of people that I didn't know, and making new friends and new connections was something that just wouldn't be something that I would kind of throw myself into, but university kind of forces you to do that. So I think doing that, developing new relationships, stepping out, meeting yourself, I think was a big turning point, and having someone who's also aligned with the kind of direction that you want to go in was a big kind of starting point, I think, from getting on that road to success, because I think starting off is quite daunting, especially when you have no real experience, don't even know where to start. And then if you can kind of tackle a problem with someone else, it's kind of a problem halved. So having yourself there was a big driver for just getting things moving.
Mm. You said before, when you were growing up, you always wanted to be like an entrepreneur, work for yourself. Why do you think that was?
It's a good question. I think I never really liked being told what to do. I felt like at school I was probably a bit misunderstood, from teachers, from also people telling you that you can't do it. Also was kind of a big driver. But I think,
Is misunderstood like a polite way of saying you're a naughty little shit?
I feel like I just kind of didn't really take what the teacher was saying as kind of like the kind of that is kind of what you need to be told what to do. I kind of look at these people as, you're just teachers here, turning up, doing your day job. You kind of get put in a box, and I didn't really like that. And there was always times where, I'm not gonna lie, like, I did have a laugh and a joke with my friends, but it kind of escalated quite a lot, to the point where I don't really think they understood me and just thought I was just a naughty little shit, and they tried to kick me out of the school. That's a whole other story in itself. But I think, being told what to do definitely wasn't something that I enjoyed, and I think seeing successful people kind of growing up, they always kind of have their own thing going on. They're never really part of an organization, and you always see the entrepreneurs that they've kind of made their own way and carved their own path, and that was something that I wanted to aspire and be like.
All right, cool. Yeah, I think that's quite common, isn't it? Like with entrepreneurs being naughty bastards in school, a bit rebellious, valuing the freedom, I think is like one for me that rings true. When you look at the business that we've made, then, so this is like I say, kind of back where we started. It was with a podcast. For you, like, how would you describe that journey to success? Would you talk me through what you think are some of the goriest details of the worst times and the best times? Was there ever a moment when you thought, I'm not sure this is actually going to work?
No. The podcast, I knew probably, okay, it's not going to work. But the business that we have now, I always thought we've got something here that works, because immediately we had traction within a couple of months of starting, and that's kind of rolled into another client, and then we got referred into some more stuff. So that is the kind of golden stamp that, okay, you've got something here that's going to work. Yeah, of course, there's challenges that pop up every day, really, but they kind of change throughout the journey. So I think, what could be seen as a big kind of rocky patch at the start, now it's not really that. There's new ones that can't kind of crop up. So obviously getting your first client is a big one. Just trying to get that over the line. And I remember we had a flat that we lived in, and it was, okay, priority A1 is let's just go try and get full time on this business and quit the part-time jobs. And I remember at the time there was a proposal that we sent out to someone and kind of had our pants pulled down. And that at the time felt like a serious uppercut to the breadbasket, man.
That was bad. That hurt, that did.
Yeah. But, now proposals have been sent out. Sometimes you win them, sometimes you lose them. And you just kind of dash yourself down and go. But obviously at the time, now that we are both full-time on this and have been for the last few years, it's that's not really a challenge anymore. But yeah, it changes, man. It changes all the time. What about you? What do you think?
Yeah, I think like, what you're describing there, like when we had a moment of what we needed to make it work was time. I think like that's true with a lot of businesses, is it's either time or money or a bit of both. And we were both working like full-time jobs, and when you got that setback, say with that contract, our number one objective was cover the costs to pay for the flat, the bills, and to eat. And that was it. There was no like, to have a jolly or to do this or that or the other. It was like, what minimum necessities do we need so that we can free up both of our times, like double that amount of time that we can spend on it and keep everything super lean. And like, it was
it's like root back to Maslow's hierarchy. You've got that like, let's sort out the basic needs, shelter, food, whatever it takes. Like, if we can just, I'll eat fucking rice and peas, beans,
and rice cake.
Like, as long as I can just go full steam ahead and go full time. And I obviously it took a few months, but when that happened, the difference was massive.
Yeah, I think like there's been a few hard moments. I think one that I always think about, which was like, I think this shows a level of commitment, and you'll remember this conversation, but we got going. We were in the flat. No, we were in the flat. We got out of that phase. Everything was, hunky-dory. We had a buoyant economic market. We'd transitioned over. We'd launched a website. We'd started getting some clients in. We're like, okay, it's time. We're going to get a premises. So then we got like a little office, and it was like, fuck, this feels really real now. And then hired a member of staff, and I was like, oh, man, and then hired another one. We're like, and then everything was looking good. And then you know, there was a week or so where it was like, I think we used to call it like, what was it? Lockdown roulette, or where we do like the name, like how many times Boris would say certain things in his speeches. Do you remember that? Yeah. When like Jess would be around ours, it was like, oh, we're not going to get locked down. We're not going to get locked down. And then it happened. And I remember like thinking, because all the clients we're speaking with at the time were like, nothing's really happened like this before. All the budgets are going stationary. We had clients, every client basically called up and was like, we either need to suspend our contract, we can't afford it anymore, we need to scale everything back. Any new business was like, just forget about it. Like, it's not happening anymore. And we were only like a couple of years into the business. Like, we'd grown fast and then got this premises, which we were liable to pay for. And also then I brought on staff. And it was like, oh, all of a sudden, all of our future pipeline of opportunities that were, you know, looking pretty good were gone. It was like, well, what we're going to do? And I remember speaking to you and being like, well, worst case scenario, do you want to like move into the office to keep costs low, and then we'll go have a shower at the gym for like a period of time? And that was like, I remember when we had that conversation and we were both like, yeah, if we need to do it, like we'll get rid of the flat and we'll just live in the office for a bit and keep the ship moving. I was like, fuck, this could be a pretty hard period for the business. But that was like a good lesson though, because when I look at the journey that we've been on with going through something like that, when people are looking out at the economic market now and it's like, oh, doom and gloom, crisis coming, I'm like, nah, probably it'll be all right. Yeah. Some businesses will survive, some businesses will drop, and the ones that there isn't going to stop being a need for video. The market of how videos come is going to change, and the type of content that's going to work is going to change, but it isn't going anywhere. If you sit and you do nothing and you don't adapt, then you're fault. We know businesses that have folded in this space, but we adapted.
Yeah, it's like when that happened, and you get those moments where it's like, oh shit, you know, what does it even mean for us anymore? In that particular instance, we made that plan of attack presentation, how to survive a zombie apocalypse, and obviously opportunity COVID. So it was just looking at what can we do over this time, and that was the first thing that we done. We didn't sit and kind of rest on our laurels and just hope this is all gonna like go to the Winchester and blow it over. Like, it was like, let's actually just look at what we can do. And I think when you have those challenging times, just try to not getting so low when things aren't great and not getting so high when things are so, you know, it's going great. Just kind of keeping that level head throughout the good times and the bad times, and just assessing, okay, this is the situation, what opportunities are out there. And yeah, like you say, a lot of people we knew did just really struggle. A couple of businesses that we knew folded, a couple of competitors I know packed in, and we kind of looked at it and was like, okay, there's still going to be marketing spend. People are online more. Obviously, we can't go out to events, but one thing we could do is do more stock and graphic, do more animations. People still need to influence customers and engage, you know, new ones. So there's still an opportunity there, but we just need to convey that message to the clients that we do have, and yeah, not just kind of sit and be like, oh no, we can't go out to an event anymore, can't go in person anymore. What the fuck are we going to do? Obviously, there's grants and there's also support out there that we just looked at, and was lucky that, you know, we secured a few bits here and there to keep us going. But what about then some of the highs? What do you think are like some of the key highlights for you on the journey? Obviously, we've talked about a bit of the lows there.
Yeah, all the highs. That when we got the premises, the first office, that felt like a big high. Even though it was a small space, and there were bigger wins since then. I think, like, genuinely, even though there's been so many big wins, I think when we signed the deal, which was the monthly retainer for one of the first monthly retainers that we signed, and it gave us cash flow to cover the apartment, that and moving into the office are two of my biggest highlights. Because what that symbolized was you can make this work. You can make money out of this and you can make a living. And you don't have to... I've worked all my life before that in jobs, some of which were good, some of which were bad. I was working as a chef at the time when we switched over to go full-time on the business. And I had a few kind of silly ventures when I was in school of like cooking up beer or selling fake IDs, which probably wasn't so kosher, but I did it because there was supply and demand for it. But that was like you described, you wanted to be an entrepreneur in school. So when being an adult, I've been at university, we both resat a year of university. It was kind of dragged ourselves through it. I just kind of commit to finishing what we started. And then started a podcast because we had ball all money and it was cheap to do. And then that moment of, okay, you can actually cover all your bills and do this full time. That was a big symbol of like, you can stand on your own 2 feet and be an entrepreneur. And then the premises and bringing on, like starting to hire people, that made it, this is a company. This isn't just, a man with a cam or like freelance anymore. This is a company. So I think psychologically for me, those two really stand out as some of the biggest wins that we've had, even though since that contract, there's been many more contracts with much higher value. And also we've moved 2 times since then into premises, which is like, this is probably about 8 times the size of the first place we were in. But yeah, those two stick out for me. What about you?
Yeah, same here, man. I think those early wins, I think because the mountain seemed so high at the time, and you kind of had that period of growing up where it's like, okay, I want to be able to stand on my own 2 feet, have a business that's generating income and I can be supported off of it. That moment to then come, it was like, I don't know, it was like a big weight just lifted off your shoulders, and it was like, it just filled you with so much confidence that, yeah, we can actually make a business out of this, and we can carry on getting more clients and getting bigger and better budgets to produce, better video for some of the world's best brands. So the early moments and that first office was like a physical representation of all the hard work, because it's all well and good, waking up and sitting in the kitchen with the desks back to back and cracking on, but being able to wake up and be like, I'm going into the office, and then walk through that door, and it's, it was just to start with a desk with a screen on either side, but we had to get to go in there, look around, this is our place, we can bring clients here, and it just kind of levels you up. And the kind of momentum then that brings, people see it, people want to help out more. And that's another thing, a lot of people probably don't realize how many people are out there that will help you if you just ask the question. And especially at the start, you need some support, unless obviously like Donald Trump and you get like a 2 million grant off your old man to start a business. If you're not starting with much, you need to go and look for support, and there is a lot of stuff out there for you to go gain that access. So the early wins definitely are more memorable and some of the highest of highs. And yeah, I think as we've kind of gone on, like you say, we have had bigger and better budgets to work with, hired some great people, gone on set with makeup artists, actors, set designers, etc. Where some of the early projects, it was literally me and you with, like, to capture audio, would have a laptop with an aux cable plugged in, like holding it on like a clamp to try and capture the audio, which looking back on it is ridiculous but hilarious. Like, just getting those pieces of work through the door, looking back on it now, it's yeah, it fills me with just more joy looking back on those moments and some of the recent ones. But maybe in a few years' time you look back at these ones and think, okay, maybe these ones are a little bit better.
Do you know what I love about when and I've only really realised this more recently is we didn't go out and be like, I've got this idea, I need somebody to give me money to make it happen. Because I think a lot of the time people go through an entrepreneurial journey and they want somebody to chuck a load of cash in, and they'll give away 50% of their business because they need it to get moving. And I think the way that we did it, bootstrapping it, teaches you how to focus on actually just running a business profitably and being considerate of that. And I'm proud that we managed to do it like that, and I'm happy that we did it. And I think it keeps you grounded when you get to developing and you've got more cash to play with. You still kind of have that root of, well, I didn't just get a massive check and I ended up spunking half of it on something that wasn't that great. You have to be much more thoughtful with it. Some businesses need investment, but I think the fact that we managed to do it without going and turning to somebody and being like, oh, I need a load of money off you, I think I hold quite a lot of pride for that. I've got a question for you. This podcast is called Keeping Focus. When you reflect on the journey, your entrepreneurial journey, how would you say that you keep focused?
I think it all comes down to having alignment. So, first of all, I feel like you've got to have expectations and set standards for yourself. How you do one thing is how you do, everything that you do. And if you set out to achieve some goals, which is the next point, if you write them down, and I mean, for me, at the start of every single year, I make a list of some goals that I want to achieve, split them up into some different areas of my life: business, personal, relationship, financial, and then I'll list out how I'm going to get there. But I mean, it's all well and good writing them down, but then if you don't hold yourself accountable and have standards of yourself to reach them, then they're never going to get done. So, and it's not like I'm an absolute workhorse and there's days where, I never feel like I can't be bothered doing it, or, we all kind of have motivational kind of dips and rises again. But for me, I think after a couple of days, it's like, come on, mate, like, sort yourself out, like, get back on the track again. Life gets in the way, things happen, and it kind of knocks your equilibrium out of sync a little bit. But being able to recognize that, accept it, reset again, and go, and keep yourself in check. And I think a good way of doing that, obviously, is having it written down, but then looking at other people for inspiration. If I'm kind of slacking on my fitness goals, I'll be like watching someone I'll be getting into Ross Edgley or something, and I'll be like, if this guy's swimming around the UK, fucking hell, man, like, you can get up and go to the gym, Or if there's, I feel a bit tired for jiu-jitsu or something, I'll be watching a jiu-jitsu tutorial or someone, and I'll be like, no, you can go and do that. And same with, anything in my life, business or whatever, I'll be looking at someone else, take inspiration from that, and then just get that alignment back with the goals that I've set before.
Nice. Speaking of fitness goals then, so I know, well, both of us both value being healthy and being fit in relation to running a business. How do you think that your journey of, like, your physical journey has impacted your business journey, your professional journey?
One is, I mean, you can turn up more often than not. I mean, you're not ill, and even when you are a bit ill, it's not kind of debilitating. I don't know. Like, I'm pretty healthy. I don't have any like underlying problems. At least I don't think I do anyway. But
well, actually, I've got this envelope to share with you.
Yeah, so I think just being able to turn out every day and just put in the work, that's one thing. But I think recently is jiu-jitsu's been a big thing that I've started about 14 months ago, as have you. But there's so much to take away from training jiu-jitsu. I know it's banded around quite a lot, and you hear it on every podcast. Really, someone mentions jiu-jitsu and how great it's been, but I think it teaches you so much just about life, and obviously that transcends into business as well. But just putting yourself out there is, I mean, that's the first step, and that's the first step in business, is just actually getting going. And that's where a lot of people don't even get to. They have the idea, they don't even want to, they don't even know how to even get started. And it just stays as an idea, and before they know it, it's they've got the golden handcuffs on with a job, and they've never started it, and they look back and they'll regret never starting that business. So actually just turning up, going to jiu-jitsu is quite a daunting thing in the first place, especially when you've never done any martial arts before, and you're standing at the end of the line with no stripes on your white belt, and there's all these people here who you never met before, but you're about to go and spar them and fight them. There's obviously the humility of it, so it doesn't matter who you are, if you're treating everyone with respect. And I think business is just people. You're selling to someone, you're marketing to someone. Yeah, okay, it's all branded under a logo and a name, but you're talking with people. So just having that human interaction and showing respect and humility to others is a big thing, and it helps massively, especially just in life, but in business. Making sacrifices again, and it's difficult, it's hard, you're always learning. And I think that is just a lesson for business as well. You'd never feel like you're the finished article. And I think if we look back at the videos that we made 4 years ago to the ones that we make now, that shows in abundance that the development over that time is unrecognizable. And you see that in jiu-jitsu, because now we've just recently got our blue belts, which is great, but still feel like I know nothing. I know a few things, but there's still so much to know. And I think it's such a great just vehicle of teaching you so many different lessons, which can be used throughout business and life in general.
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed taking up jiu-jitsu, and I agree with all of the points that you've just made there. I think one thing I've recognised, or maybe not recognised, but I've seen in you, and we'll see what you think about this, is when we started the business and when we were at university, and you said you were like slightly shyer when you were younger, but when we started the business, you spent more time being a bit more on the quieter side. Like, you do less kind of public facing stuff, and you'd speak up less when we're doing sales related things. And I think in the time that I've known you from when we were friends originally, and then set up this, and then we've grown the business, you've changed a lot.
Yeah, I agree. I think in terms of the business, especially when it got to sales front, and I know it's the lifeblood of any business is getting money through the door, and it's imperative. I feel like maybe at the start I wasn't fully confident that I could deliver on what was being said, so maybe I felt a bit disingenuous. But not just that, I don't think I really had the minerals for it at the start. And I think, fair play for you, just jumping in and just cracking on and just put yourself out there, and it's
selling the dream.
I'll give them something, and we'll figure it out later how to do it. Admire that, but as the business has gone on and developed, when it now comes to selling, I think I know that the delivery what someone's going to get is going to be shit hot, and it's going to be fucking good, and they're going to enjoy it, and it's going to work. Especially if we've had some creative input into how it's going to look, because times that we have had that, the videos usually perform better than and when there hasn't been some creative input, and sometimes people just like, I want this and this is how I want it, which is okay, fair enough. If that's how you want it, then let's do it that way. Obviously you can advise, but if that's the way you want to do it, then fair enough. But it just forces you to get a bit more confident as well, having a business. You're never going to really get anywhere by just being kind of reserved. I think one key thing that stuck out to me, especially kind of towards the start, is I think someone said your network is your net worth. And I was like, obviously you've heard the phrase being bandied around, like, it's not what you know, it's who you know a lot of the time. And it's the more you kind of grow and developed and this business has expanded and you've got to meet new people, it's so true. And I think early on I recognized that, and then I made a bit more of an effort to put myself out there, put yourself in those networking events that honestly I know you don't like them.
I absolutely hate networking
but
events.
I don't particularly like them either, but it was these networking events or these dinners that we got invited to at the start. It was like, you know what, I'm going to head down, and although it's going to be quite painful at times, you just never know who you're going to meet. And also, if you don't meet anyone, at least you've gone down there and you put yourself out there, and then that's just another kind of notch on your belt of, I don't know if that's a saying, but you've kind of then, it's another like opportunity that you've got, and you put yourself out there, and it's just building that resilience. So I think the more times you do anything, it's like anything, the better you're going to get at it. So yeah, I think that's kind of just compounded over the time. And now going and doing talks or doing something like this, or selling, I don't even think twice about doing it now.
It's no stress. No, I see that. It's like it's quite a long way, man. It's quite a long way that's come. But yeah, I think I'm not a fan of the networking events either. Like we were speaking yesterday, that's one of the key reasons why I started this podcast, because I think that I remember hearing that phrase on the network is your net worth, or a talk that we're both at, and I remember thinking exactly the same thing. But I'm not a fan of networking events. It feels a little bit forced. There's loads of people in a room, loads of people trying to sell you shit. I'm trying to sell you shit. But yeah, I don't know. I walk in, I just think, why am I even here? I could be doing something more productive. I think in the start of a business, early days, you do need to just go get your face out there a bit. It is just a necessary evil. But as time's gone on, I've kind of thought, well, my time would be better spent actually doing other things that are going to be more conducive. I find them a bit of a lottery, the networking events. Sometimes you go and you'll just like waste 3 hours. Sometimes you'll meet like loads of good people. But yeah, that is why I've started this. For you, when you think about your favourite films, I know you've gone on a bit of a film hype recently, haven't you? For anybody watching or listening, you've been a bit of a, not filmophobe, but I think your film portfolio of watching has been a little bit lighter.
Which is kind of ironic, really.
It is.
We're in.
Yeah.
But having said that, it's more, man, I've been sucked in by social media, man.
Mm-hmm.
It gets my attention. Maybe I've got like ADHD or something, but...
What do you mean by that?
When it's just attention, bang, bang, bang.
But like in relation to watching a film, so you find it hard to watch a full film?
So there'll be times where someone will be like, oh, let's stick on a film or whatever, and it'll be like 2.5 hours of just sitting still. I'm not sure if I can do that. But yeah, no, but you're right. I have this year made a conscious effort to watch more. Yeah.
Okay. How's that going?
Good. Yeah. I made it prudent goal. I'm gonna watch one film a week, but I'm currently ahead of schedule at the moment. So I mean, it's all good. But yeah, it's good, man. It's good. I've actually really enjoyed it. And I think just being able to break away from your phone for a few hours is actually a really beneficial thing. Instead of constantly checking it before you know it. Like, I mean, I'm spending the same amount of time just sat there staring at a screen, which is like 6 inches away from my face, looking at things that half the time aren't even that important. But to kind of relate it back is kind of somewhat important to what we do because we make a lot of promotional content. So most of the time I'm kind of engrossed in some kind of YouTube, or to be honest, Twitter's got me pretty gripped, but for all kind of the wrong reasons sometimes. But yeah, so yeah, I've made an effort to just kind of put my phone away, watch some films, and it's good, man. It's good. It gives you kind of some artistic, just influence in some of the stuff that we put forward now.
Definitely. I feel like that's what I felt. The more the years have gone by and the more films I've watched, my eye and objective view of what's going on, why the shots are there, how it's graded, how the story's structured, what the underlying themes are, it's completely changed. Or I don't know if it's changed, but it's just got there's much more awareness of, okay, that's been structured like that, or, you know, this bit of sound design's been used in this way, or, okay, this is the story, but the actual story is more of this. This is the surface line story, but it's actually tackling themes around environmental change or love or whatever it may be.
Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the gold standard. You know what I mean? You can watch content, promotional content, which is great, but when it comes to, you know, the mad budgets that are put behind, you know, video and film, you're gonna get those from the big like blockbuster movies. So it kind of shows you what's out there, what's the kind of the cut through, what's the next big breakthrough in cinema is usually coming from that side. So I remember I was watching All Quiet on the Western Front, and we had just filmed a few scenes earlier on that day. We had like a set designer, some actors, a makeup artist come in and kind of spruced up the actors for the shots. And it's made a big difference when we've then gone and shot it. And we had a gaffer as well, to make the lighting just exactly how we needed it to be. And then going and watching All Quiet on the Western Front, it was like, because I had that just only a few hours ago on set, but looking at that and thinking the makeup on this is insane, like the costumes are just ridiculous, like the actual like picture is also just absolutely insane, and how they've managed these sets with like explosions going off, trenches, mate, it was crazy. It was like, fuck, like this is actually just like incredible, like how all the moving parts have been put together to create like a 2-hour film. And then it got to the end, and obviously there's only a handful of crew on the one that we done, and then that one's just going on like list after list. And I feel like a lot of people don't realize how much effort goes into something like that. But then when you can see it and you appreciate it, I think it hits a little different.
So on that note then, I mean, I would usually say I'm a filmmaker, and this is why I'm going to ask you a question, but we're both filmmakers. I'm curious to know, what is your favourite film and why? I think it says a lot something about a person.
Yeah.
So hit me.
Okay. I think one of my favourite films, I like a few different films for different reasons. I know that's kind of a cop-out answer, but one film that I watched and I was like, it was my favourite film for quite a long period after that, and I haven't really thought about it since. But it was Wolf of Wall Street. I know, I mean, I was chatting to you a little bit about this the other day, but it's a little bit cliche. But yeah, that's one of my favourite films.
I don't even think it's that cliche. I reckon it's fine. Why do you think it's cliche?
Just gets banded around, doesn't it?
Banded around what as a favourite film?
And it's like a stereotypical boy's favourite film because there's sex, drugs, midgets getting thrown at bullseyes.
Everything you want in a film.
Yeah, like businessman from nothing to something, loses it all. There's Margot Robbie like half naked in it. You know, that's what I think. It's probably pretty cliche. Yeah.
So if I was to ask you to like cut a level deeper, just think about the journey that you've been on, and your perspective on the world, and why that film is your favourite and it resonates with you, how would you reflect on that?
I think obviously it follows a story of someone who is a bit of a nobody, kind of struggling in life, just ordinary guy who has a will and an ambition to succeed, and looks for opportunities, gets himself on Wall Street. Obviously, then is just a shit hot salesperson, starts racking in bare cash, and becomes a bit of a baller. So obviously changes life around. So that kind of entrepreneurial journey from nothing to something resonates quite a lot with myself. Not to say that I'm any like Jordan Belfort or anything, but we're on the path to obviously making a successful business and many more afterwards. So there's that element to it, but I think also it kind of touched on like the dark side of success. So obviously it's all great having parties and sex and the drugs and whatnot, but that comes at a detriment at some point, and he kind of loses his way a little bit. Sorry, any spoilers? I'm sure everyone's probably seen it, but yeah, obviously that kind of takes a bit of a downturn and he loses it all. So it kind of shows you that journey from nothing to something to then losing everything again. And obviously it's it's funny. There's a great acting in it as well. And I just think it's a great film and it's relatable to, obviously minus the drugs and everything. But I think it's quite relatable, like the entrepreneurial journey.
Yeah. Do you know what else I think? I think this is, in my opinion, a facet of of a great film. This doesn't have to be in a film, but for me, I think it adds an extra level of weight. Is The Wolf of Wall Street is a true story. It's glamorized and insane. Like obviously they've dialed everything up about 100% to make it more entertaining. But he is a genuine, real person. That is his genuine, real story. And for me, I think a story that is real in a film often hits harder for me personally. So it's interesting that you pick that, because I don't know how you feel about that if you've watched films like other films, but for me personally, like Aviator, different kind of entrepreneur. He's like the have you seen that yet? You need to put it on your list. Different kind of entrepreneur. Yeah. Howard Hughes, he was like the Elon Musk of his day. Very different character, very strange guy, but like brilliant mind. A bit like Elon Musk, but as the name implies, like really into aeroplanes. Kind of like Elon Musk's really into trying to do space rockets at the moment. But yeah, that's like the real story of massive success, but also massive personal problems throughout it that he's wrestling with. I just think it adds a bit of extra weight to it.
100%. Does anyone ask what your favourite film is, or is that something that you keep quiet?
You know what? You're the first person to ask me. I'm the first person on the podcast. So, yeah. The one that I always go back to, I've got loads. As you said, like I think everybody has like a few favourite films. If you ask them, people go, oh, no, it's hard to. But the one that always I seem to go back to is Blow. Now that is different to Wolf of Wall Street, but has quite a lot of similarities. Spoilers incoming. So Blow is a real life story of a guy called George Jung, who was released from prison like 2 years ago and went and smoked a zoo with Johnny Depp after being released. But just to summarise, he's a drug smuggler, and throughout his journey he goes on to be the largest drug smuggler of cocaine into America, working with Pablo Escobar. But he starts off from like very humble beginnings. You know, his dad ran like a labor intensive business, but it starts to fold, and then he sees his family struggling. And he's like, oh, I don't want to be poor, but I need to just get away from this small town that I'm in. Goes over to California. Everyone's smoking weed. He's like, there's something here. Starts dealing, meets a load of people, gets loads of really close personal relationships, and it all kind of just escalates along that path of what drugs he's in and who he's interacting with. But whilst it highlights all of the crazy elements of that, you know, the parties, the lifestyle, the massive houses, the cars, the women, blah, 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 it also shows a very, very real, dark reality of things that are genuine and happen to people in all walks of life, you know, like relationship problems or tragedy happening or people dying. And it takes you on that professional up and down, professional drug dealer, but the personal up and downs as well. And he's just some really nice guy who's just, he wasn't really going around shooting people. He wasn't. He was like just a non-violent like drug dealer who was just trying to make good money. Obviously, as you do in that game, but wasn't really in the game of causing people harm. But that world kind of swallowed him up. He's very real. It's very real. Mm-hmm. And yeah, it resonates with me. It resonates with me because I think he's come from a very humble, very normal background, being very ambitious, wanted to get out of where he's from, found a route to success, but it really demonstrates the reality of personal and like business challenges and the super highs and the super lows. But
Put it on the list.
Put it on the list, man.
Put it on.
I'd want to wrap up by just asking you one final question, which is, we've been on this journey of starting a business, and it's been a challenging one, as we've discussed, but it's also had loads of great highlights. For anybody that is looking to set up a business, progress on that journey, if you could give a bit of advice, what would it be?
Just start. But honestly, just start. Every business comes in its different shapes and sizes, but I think people can get too bogged down in just the planning, and everything needs to be meticulously correct before they even start doing anything. I think it's best to just jump in, give it a go, and look at different ways of improving. Every little 1% that you can add day by day as you're actually doing it is better than kind of planning for 6 months and then going to market. Not to say that's entirely wrong, but I think jumping into it 1% every single day, just shading in little pieces of grey, to go back to that TED talk, and before you know it, you'll have a lot done. And also that way, I think you'll know sooner rather than later whether it's gonna kind of be a success or not. So I think just start, say yes to a lot of opportunities, ask people for help if you need it, and yeah, don't stop.
Cool. Nice one, man. Until next time.